All right, let's go to the next slide. This is our outline for what we're gonna talk about. Introduction, social sustainability definition, HSCV program assessment, best practice for comparable cities. We looked at Naperville, Fort Collins, and Avondale, and the overall recommendations we'll present. We started off with the welcome, so we can cross that off the list. I wanted to thank the Human Services and Community Vitality. At the meeting that we attended at your building, it was just very touching to me that so many people had turned out. And just the caring and the for the city and for the people really came out, and I think touched us all. Thank you for the tour. It was exciting. We did it in the dark, half of it. But that was fun. Yes. I wanted to talk a little bit about our process, and I did a little bit earlier. Again, but I'll repeat it and just say that each of us did parts of each presentation. For AJ, everybody worked on it. For Surprise, everybody worked on it. So I want to thank everybody, all the classmates, for their input. For successful cities, as they relate to sustainability, the things that they do are they really take care of the most vulnerable populations through transportation, housing, healthcare. And that is what has to be done in Surprise to make it a very powerful city. It's growing right now, and you have to grab hold of the reins before things kind of get out of control. So that's what we looked at when we were thinking about social sustainability. You guys do have a plan for environmental sustainability. As I looked through the website, as I looked through your general plans, you've got the recycling, you've got the water conservation, air quality plan. All of those affect the economy, so that's the second piece of sustainability. And so the part that needs to be worked on is the society piece, the social sustainability piece. You have grown. I'm amazed at how quickly Surprise has grown. When I was looking at just last night when I was looking at the demographics from 30,000, and then it bounced up like huge, 225%. It said. I was like, that's impossible, but it's just growing and expanding so fast that there has to be some kind of hold on it. There has to be a slowdown, period. There are opportunities. You asked us to look at neighborhood services, social services, and senior services. And we did that. We really dug deep into your documents that you sent us. We reviewed the interviews and the people that were in the meeting. We, again, looked at the websites. We looked at several different websites for demographics, trying to get the most up-to-date, most current information on Surprise. Getting hold of the social sustainability piece is imperative, because the most vulnerable of your citizens are going to be hurt the most if that's not taken care of right away or as soon as possible. So we were looking at strategies and interventions that could happen, and I'm not going to steal my classmates' thunder and go too deeply into that, but one of the things, or a couple of the things that were very important, was community involvement. You have to get the community behind you. You have to build the cohesiveness. Policies and actions, though, are also, you can't do it without the policies and the actions. You can have a good heart, but without the policy changes and the actions behind it, it's like spinning your wheels. Go ahead. I looked at several different sustainability definitions. These were sustainability definitions from your general plan, and I only have a few listed here, 3 listed here, but there's several listed in the information that I'm going to give you in our packet. I'm not going to read all through them, but you can see that they deal with environmental issues, surprise growth management strategy. What I looked for and what I noticed as I was going through all of the different definitions were key words like diversity, cultural differences, quality of life, those kinds of things. That's what I was looking for as I went through the several definitions of sustainability. Next, I found different definitions for social sustainability. And these are just a couple that were there. They talked about systems and structures and relationships and equity. Equity is extremely important in sustainability and social sustainability. And one thing that I want to point out to you here is it's a process. It's not a goal that you achieve. We've got it and we don't have to do anything else. It's a process, it's a continuing process that you have to be up on and take care of, and the well-being of your citizens depend on that. So, through all of the sustainability definitions that we found, we didn't see any that really grabbed us, and we wanted your community to feel it. We wanted it to be a declaration, a proclamation. You know, a little bit like the Declaration of Independence, we the people. So that's why we went with this statement. Social sustainability. Can we say it together?
Yes,
social
we can.
Yes, we
can.
Social sustainability. Together. Social sustainability for the city of Surprise means equity, diversity, inclusiveness, well-being, and community. We are a caring and supportive community that strives to provide a democratic, healthy, and safe environment for our current residents and future generations. We understand being sustainable is a continuous process that is made up of structures and systems which serve us all.
Under God. Just
Forever and ever. I like it.
How come we don't have that, Larry? Can we copy? Can we just go, hey, city
Get
manager?
your trash service
Okay,
first.
thanks.
This will be next year.
next.
So we think that your community has to get behind it. They have to grab hold of it, and this is the first step. The next information that we talked about is how to get there. So we looked for an assessment to help get you there. And I'm going to pass the floor on to Najel. And
Me,
Allie.
Yeah, you guys may have noticed the rather lengthy STAR documentation that was provided with your report. Well, STAR is a community rating system, is the nation's leading framework and certification program for local sustainability. It's a catalyst for local action, and it is a transforming way that communities address sustainability programs. The intent of rating system is to help communities identify, validate, and support the implementation of best practices. One of the top reasons that communities use STAR is actually because they're looking for ways to strengthen their programs, not necessarily to use it as a rating system. STAR measures social, environmental, and economic performance areas, but for the purpose of this report, we chose to specifically look into the social part. There are 8 different goal areas in the STAR assessment. We selected 4 that we felt best fit Surprise and their needs. We have the built environment, education, arts and community, equity and empowerment, and health and safety. Within those 4 goal areas, we selected 11 different objectives of 49. And then there are available, I believe, over 500 different actions that you can take, but we narrowed it down pretty significantly. We chose actions that are being fulfilled by the existing program Surprise has in progress. We did not provide you guys with a star rating. We didn't feel that would really be beneficial for you, but we did instead choose to focus on how star can be used as a tool to evaluate the programs you have in place.
Okay. So this is the table we created for the STAR assessment of your programs, and this is just a screenshot. And so the first column is dedicated exclusively to the HSCV programs, and we have a table for each service category, such as neighborhood, social, and senior services. And the next two columns are just the STAR rating itself. So we have like the column which we just kind of group together because we don't want the table to be that wide. So it's just like includes the goal area, objective, and community level outcomes, as well as local actions. And on the right, we have our own findings and recommendations that we based off STAR on your own programs. So we have a separate column for our findings, which just basically compares what STAR expects to what the program offers, and what we thought was unique and what was interesting, as well as what could be improved on. And then we have recommendations to achieve the actions that Ali talked about, as well as potential metrics that you could do to quantify and qualitatively grade your programs. So just like in detail, we have the goal area in this column, which is, for example, the block party trailer is part of like the neighborhood services. So in that nature, it's related to the education and arts community goal area. And in that section, we have like a number of objectives, and we pick community cohesion because that's exactly what the block party trailer is designed to do. And then under objectives, you have some, usually for all these STAR objectives, they have like 1 to 3 outcomes. And we pick the third outcome, which is, again, cohesion and connectedness. And so based on that, we picked local actions that, in the STAR framework, that Surprise either does or they thought that they should do in order to improve the program. So it has like certain codes. And so IAS, if you look at the legend at the bottom, it would be, well, you could see that, the inventory, assessment, and survey. So that's not something that we identified in online for the block party trailer, but that's what STAR suggests like as a tool to find out more about your cohesion and connectedness of this program. And as you go, like we have like, this is taken directly from STAR, by the way, so we didn't write this up. So there's like PNC, which is like partnerships and collaboration. There's PNS, which is program and services. And so they have these like actions that Surprise could take as a city to act upon their cohesion and connectedness. And so based on these actions, we focused on findings. So for example, the block party trailer, which in case, is we in our findings we realized that this scheme acts as a qualified tool to achieve community cohesion. That's what we assessed it as using the STAR framework. And however, we found out based on that first local action that they don't have any inventory assessment or survey based on the available information online and according to the meeting. So that's what would be outlined in the first column, and then we have recommendations based on that. So again, going back to local actions, we say that, okay, for your event or any other of your community cohesion events, you need like surveys or feedback mechanisms where people can really reach out to the city in a standardized manner where you can grade the quality of the program, the residents' satisfaction with how the program was implemented, and kind of aspects such as those that the city is really interested in. And then we have recommended metrics, as I said before, like surveys is like, for this example, like percentage of residents are reporting positive levels of neighborhood cohesion. So that's like something that we provided, and you don't have to do it, but it's just like things that you could think of and kind of find the best approaches you could take. And as I said before, we have a table each for neighborhood, social. So this is a table for social services. And for example, under your employment programs, we have employment and Surprise, which is SOAR. And we felt that it connected closest to the E&E goal area, which is equity and empowerment. and the outcome we wanted was equitable poverty reduction. And this is something that STAR does. STAR really hones into particular groups, so they like focus on to like low income groups or like people considered under the low socioeconomic kind of communities. And so based on our recommendations, we wanted to categorize the income level of applicants, because maybe this is not something that Surprise wants to do, but STAR really thinks that this is something that a city can hone into and remediate. And for example, senior programs, as we see, like over here, it's a hot lunch program is the first one, and so we connect with that to the food access and nutrition under health and safety, and the outcome is access to healthful food, okay, access to healthful food, and so that's like, then we made accordingly like recommendations and metrics based on that. Would you like any questions at this moment, just to clarify things? No? Okay.
That's great.
So based on our findings, we kind of just like, this table just summarizes what we understood from our assessment and what STAR like really outlines, and we realized that Surprise doesn't really offer a lot of information, and like as I said before, STAR really like hones into certain social groups and and certain income groups, and we didn't find that identification in when we had gone based on the programs. They don't really focus into those groups, which is not really a problem, but it's just like something that could be of interest. And there's also, STAR also looks at things very holistically. They always want events or education programs or any like community community events to be linked to sustainability, in the sense of like, oh, it has to have like environmental element or like an economical element, where it's just like beyond what they need to know. So our recommendations is that really just like have some kind of feedback, a standardized feedback form where people can give their opinion and that's measurable, and that you can like have that you could evaluate and have reports based on it, so that you could give it to the public, or you could give it to higher management, where they can make decisions on important policy or like just on budget decisions. And then we have, we also recommend to focus on more private partnerships. We noticed that when we went to the city, they had, surprised the HSC, had a lot of NGO partnerships, which we thought we were impressed with. Like we had the work in the same office, and like abuse program agencies. So, but then perhaps we, according to STAR, like you have to like broaden that up and have like more private businesses which can also offer another resource to Surprise. And then going back to the last finding, where we really felt directed that the social sustainability is an important aspect, but perhaps there could be another component where there could be increased cohesion and health and safety and food availability by connecting to the environment in some kind of manner, like food oven systems, oven food farms.
Yeah.
And so this kind of just like goes back to what other cities could be doing in terms of sustainable practices.
So moving forward, as Muriel mentioned earlier, we did choose 3 different comparable cities to relate, as well as did an overview of some of their best practices. The 3 cities we chose are Naperville, Illinois, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Avondale, Arizona. We chose these cities on an array of different characteristics. One, city population, their distance and location to their major downtown area. They all currently had an existing sustainability plan, as well as they had a strong connection to some of their city services. So first, Naperville, Illinois, located in the suburbs of Chicago, current population of more than 150,000 people, and with a land boundary of 45 square miles. In 2010, they implemented their first environmental sustainability plan, which built an establishment for a long-term vision for environmental sustainability within the city, as well as provided different guides for city action, leadership, as well as initiatives. Starting with some of their best practices that we found, first was their sustainability education programs. With this, they taught they taught the residents through different community outreach programs some of the best practices and proper communication for these different sustainability approaches, as well as providing them with the proper techniques to practice this within their home as well as in their local businesses, and giving a better understanding of the benefits, costs, as well as the performance outcomes that come from those. Second, they had a strong promotion for bicycle-friendly communities. And starting with that, they provided citizens with pedestrian safety education programs. So by promoting this, they also wanted everyone to be informed of how the proper ways to go about it to make sure that they ensure their own safety. And they included bike parking in all major public locations, including transit stops, public parks, as well as the downtown area. It helps to increase the mobility as well as accessibility throughout the city by going to different methods outside of vehicular transportation. And as well, taking the approach of promoting healthy alternatives for transit. Third was the waste reduction as well as residential recycling. Helped to conserve natural and man-made resources, and with the less consumption, it decreased the need to process, refuse, and recycle, as well as increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of all material use. Next city is Fort Collins, Colorado. It's located north of Denver. Their current population is more than 160,000 within a land boundary of 55 square miles. In 2016, they updated their most recent social sustainability strategic plan, which outlined the needs within the community as well as the specific goals and what they want to achieve. Some of their best practices started with community wellness. Community wellness, and with this one, they started new agencies to help meet the needs of homeless and at-risk citizens by setting up representatives to meet with them and kind of help them create goals for life improvements, as well as helping them work towards a better integration within the community. Second, the equity and inclusion programs. They provided a range of services to the homeless and at-risk, as well as assisting, having volunteers assist and provide free services that may be needed. Lastly, the affordable housing and development. It started with an analysis based on the low-income areas that could be developed, and then utilized vacant land as well as segregated land, working with the housing authority to redevelop those spaces to allow for a better affordable housing. Third city, Avondale, located west of Phoenix, current population of more than 76,000 with a land boundary of 45 square miles. In 2014, they implemented their municipal sustainability plan, which created goals to increase the social sustainability of the city through community engagement and health. So their best practices, starting with their community leadership programs. They started a Citizen Leadership Academy to help inform citizens of the issues as well as build cooperative solutions. So they had these meetings, these events where citizens met with officials and they worked together to create these solutions. They also made it a point to allow city officials as well as elected officials to have better access for residents to communicate with them. And also started hosting more smaller scale events at comfortable local venues like coffee shops and parks. And then increased community engagement organizations. They started with community farming and community gardens and had volunteers deliver these low-cost needs, foods and goods, to the local organizations, local businesses, as well as a way of providing alternative healthy options at lower costs. And third, the community participation in education. They hosted different events throughout the city to get the citizens, get the officials together to kind of just start the discussion on these practices. And it allowed them the opportunities to realize that citizens and the officials are considering these same things but haven't had that opportunity to work together on them. And as well as participating to get the education of the community out there and build up on the sustainability methods to kind of accomplish those goals. And moving forward, we're going to discuss our recommendations.
So we have the overall recommendations, which kind of like encompasses all what we found out through defining the social sustainability term, as well as looking at the STAR framework and the 3 cities. So we boil it down to community engagement being the most effective kind of, well, not effective, but just like the most optimum kind of approach that you could take, where you kind of empower diverse communities, as well as have participatory events and sustainability education, where the city really interacts with the community, and you kind of combine the environment and community actions, such as like through an urban farm, food farm, where people can of all, it's very like of all social economic backgrounds could be engaged, of all age groups, and kind of commit towards a single goal of where they can learn more about the environment as well as about the community themselves. We also identify community leadership as something that could be more focused upon, such as programs, and Surprise does this through the SNAP Award, which is like the Surprise Neighborhood Award program. And we really like that idea where you have like a champion of the community, and you have certain goals and kind of a sustainability vision where they can kind of head towards to, and they can kind of rally people behind them, as well as you kind of like incentivize them through an award program and events where you kind of just appreciate what they have done for their community, and what could be expected from future generations, and how their hard work kind of impacts the community, and what kind of positive effects and is appreciated. And going back to again what we mentioned in STAR about the partnerships, we really do really like how Surprise has the NGO partnerships, but perhaps it could be developed further to more private partnerships where they can give you more resources. And lastly, we think that standard program assessments is necessary. As you see, like to the STAR framework, or like to Avondale, they had methods to qualitatively and quantitatively measure the success of their programs, as well as the way to report it. And as Muriel said before, the process has to be continuous. You can't just like stop here. You have to really promote and aggressively encourage people to be part of social sustainability, basically. Yeah, that is it.